Zeke Hernandez, you're one of the few winners who your name is also your username, which is pretty cool.
I was happy about that.
And your game, Goliath, won Best Kaboom Game in our 2021 KaJam. How did it feel when you found out that you won?
Yeah, that was pretty exciting. Yeah, I put a lot of time and effort and work into it, so that always feels good to not have it go. Not that if I didn't win at all, it have been a waste of time or anything like that, but just to like see that result in something, I guess, was exciting. So
Awesome. And to rewind just a little bit, can you just tell me about yourself? Who are you beyond the creator of Goliath?
sure. So I am a software engineer for a company called Foreground, and I do React development for them. So that's my full-time job. At home, I have a wife and 3 kids, and we live in Minnesota. And yeah, I have never made a game before. I mean, not like I don't even know if I would consider Goliath a full game, but much more full than anything I'd attempted previously. I would say everything before that was more like a prototype or just a proof of concept. This felt more fleshed out. So that was exciting. I've always wanted to make a game. So yeah, it's fun.
As a noob, it seems extremely fleshed out. So you never built a game before this or nothing of this level. What made you interested in participating? And once you answer that, also what made you interested in participating using Kaboom specifically?
Yeah, so I heard about the competition. Someone just mentioned it on Reddit, and I saw it, and I was like, oh, that I've always heard of game jams, but uh, this one, uh, it seemed like a kind of a big deal, or I don't know. It was like this is I don't know, like the fact that it reached me outside of being like the part of the typical game developer community. It's like, oh, seems like a let's throw my hat in the ring. I've always, wanted to. I like programming. Yeah, and the prizes were seemed great. So I was like excited to just to try it. So I forgot what your second question was. Oh, using Kaboom.
Yeah, why
Uh
Kaboom?
yeah, well, I saw that that's what kind of the featured or sponsored link or framework for the competition was. And like I said, I don't have like something I'm typically comfortable developing games in. So I said, why not try that? So I think a little bit before the competition started, I was reading through the docs and kind of all made sense, I guess. I wanted to make sure because I knew I wanted to do something with like mild physics in it, with moving something uh across the screen, kind of like whatever. So I wanted to see, I'm like, is this possible with this language? Like what's the physics like in this framework? And it was pretty limited. So I kind of had to do some of my own but basic, like, just applying acceleration to velocity or whatever, which is fine. But so I did a little tinkering with it, just not tinkering with it, but trying it out a little bit beforehand to see if it would work. And it seemed like it, I guess. And it did. So yeah.
So you find out about the KaJam, you like try out Kaboom, read up on the docs. What was the process of like actually deciding what the game was going to be, how it was going to work? What was some of your inspiration for that initial idea?
Yeah. So I feel like I'm always thinking of game ideas just throughout the day, anytime. Sometimes I'll play something or see something and I'll think of a game and I write it down, idea, because I know I would always wanted to work on one. And like I said, I would do proof of concepts. So anyways, I had plenty of ideas in my head. I didn't know what the theme was going to be. So I was like, well, when the theme's announced, I'll see which one of my ideas will kind of match the theme best and try to figure out how to get that to work. Unfortunately, like I feel like, so I made a game and you kill a bunch of robots or whatever, and there's one giant robot, but it's after you beat like 5 or 6 levels, but you don't really see it at all until then. And at first it was like 10 levels, and I'm like, no, like no one's gonna see the big robot. And I moved it to 5, and I still feel like plenty of people played it without ever seeing the huge robot. And I'm like, shoot, I talked to my wife about it. She's like, you got to put that like the huge part at the forefront. And I was like, okay, I will. And I didn't. It's still like, it's still a few levels too deep. I think maybe I should have rearranged it somehow or something, because
Is it? It's the one on the cover image, though, right? That
yeah, it
like
is on the cover, and
in
the
silhouette a little
dialogue
bit.
at the beginning is about it, but yeah, you don't actually see it. And I spent like a good chunk of time working on that, like a little cinematic where the robot appears and then the actual boss fight or whatever. But it's tucked away after, and then the level right before it is really hard, and I don't know, missed, I made it in a week, and I didn't have time to like play test it to see if
Mhm.
it would all work out well afterwards. I just wanted to make sure it wouldn't break. Yeah.
Yeah, and just for people who are listening to this in the future, the game is it's almost like the Matrix. You're kind of roof jumping, and attacking robots that are called tall bots or fly bots or all kinds of stuff. And it's the mechanic is really interesting of like the arrow and kind of like launching yourself,
It's almost
just
like
to
Angry
provide that
Birds kind of,
context.
like,
Yeah, exactly.
but not. But like that's the closest thing I could think of, I guess.
Yeah, compare the mechanics, maybe not so much the visuals.
No, yeah, no, not the theme at all. It's yeah. Mine takes itself like kind of seriously, which is, but also tongue in cheekly at the same time. Bunch of whatever.
Oh, it's so great. The dialogue is really entertaining. One of the reasons I enjoyed it so much is because it evokes a lot of like cinema for me. And so I'm curious about what some of your inspirations were and just for visuals and kind of style.
Yeah. Um, for a lot of it is just knowing my own artistic limitations, which I'm not like I wouldn't say like I'm gifted in drawing. So kind of knowing what my limitations are and what I could try to draw. Like I was like, well, I can, add a bunch of circles and squares to make this robot. And so I was just trying different shapes until I'm like, okay, this looks kind of okay or whatever. And um, just, yeah, I would say a lot of it's inspired by knowing that I can't like traditionally draw very well. So knowing like that I could do some minimal vector rearranging to make stuff, just going off of that. I think like the main characters, I think I had an idea of, like organic cloth, but like a metal helmet is like the only thing I think I had in my head. I don't know why I made the helmet white. Oh, and he's got like a arm thing. I'm not sure where that came from. Oh, because I wanted some explanation for why he can throw these energy things. And so I'm like, I'm gonna give him a magic or science gauntlet thing.
Vague physics
Yeah,
explanation.
exactly right. Exactly. There's a lot of cliches in just like a lot of action sci-fi cliches in there. And that's just what happened. Like so much of what I did in this game is very derivative, and that's kind of like part of it is like I don't have a lot of time, so I'm gonna take something and try to make it my own. And that went down to the assets. Like every asset I had in there was like it's like this, like the main character. Someone else in the competition used the same asset, but what I did was just I put it in my editor and I overlaid my own images because I can't animate at all. Like I can't do that. So it's like I'm gonna take this asset and just draw my own skin over it, and like that's what I got to do. And I did that with a couple other things, or just make really simple shapes with tiny animations like swaying or something. But so a lot of derivative stuff for this game to make it across the finish line.
Yeah, I mean, in only a week, there's like so many limitations. And with Kaboom, which is a fairly new library as well, it sounds like you were able to navigate around a lot of obstacles in creative ways. Were there any particular like major breakthroughs where you're like, oh my God, I can't believe I just did that? Or things that you just would hate for the game not to have at this point?
Um, Yeah, I think I would say that like maybe day 4 or 5, I didn't have any sounds in it. Or no, maybe it was like Saturday. So I started working on it Monday, I think, Monday night. And then Saturday is when I first added sound effects. And I almost like I considered maybe not, just because like I don't know, like I'd played it the entire week without any sounds, and I was enjoying it. But then I added sounds. I'm like, oh my gosh, no, this is absolutely makes this a like a game and not like a little tech demo. And like it felt just so much more alive. And I grabbed a bunch of free sound effects. Some of them aren't as good as others. The music is I like some of it. Some of it's like, well, this kind of fits. I don't know, but it still feels much more alive and like a full product with sound in it. So I think that was a big thing. With the game engine, yeah, it was funny. Just like working on software, tech debt accumulates over time, and you have to spend time to clean that up. And that there's a cost there, but there's a long-term benefit for doing that. And it's funny that even in such a small window of a week, like how much, like trying to make those kinds of judgments, like, okay, yes, this will cost me like 4 hours of refactoring, but I think it will save me time over the long run, which the long run can only be to the end of the week because that's when the competition's over. But like seeing that, no, there's still like a benefit for refactoring, even in such a short window, that will ultimately just make your life easier for you, in this case, the next few days. But I think it was definitely worth it, because especially I didn't know how Kaboom worked at the beginning of the week. And, as the more I use it, I'm like, oh, like I can do this way and it would be so much better. And so, having to go back and rewrite some code feels weird in such a short time period, for a week long competition. But I think it was helpful, and it saved a lot of time down the road. So yeah, even though there was only like 7 days, there's a lot of hours in there. So saving hours is good.
Spoken like a true engineer. How much time do you think you spent on it in total? Do I even want to know? I don't know.
I'll just say this: like, I basically worked 2 full-time jobs that week, and it was brutal. Um, I don't think I would do it again. It's just like, I think there's a part of me that, like, if I want to win, I will put my best effort out there, and that is another full-time job's worth of programming, and that's not very fun to do. So, unless I would maybe do it again if I took like my actual job off to work on it, but not try to do both at the same time. There was a lot of time into it.
That is, yeah. We talked to some other KaJam winners, and they were like, we put in like 14, 15-hour days.
Yeah.
And so admirable, very admirable. The outcome was incredible, but I feel for you and your sleep deprivation, I'm sure.
Uh-huh.
Now, did you test it with your kids? You said you didn't have too much time to iterate, but did you get their feedback?
No, my oldest one she's 4.5, and then my youngest he was 7 months or something at the time. So they didn't test it. I did show one of my coworkers, actually a few of my coworkers, and they tried it out, and so I got a little bit of feedback from them. So that was good.
Yeah, what has the response been from folks in your life?
They liked it. My wife, she thought it was really cool, um, and so yeah, they all seemed to really like it and enjoy it, and thought it was cool that I did it. And so yeah, I'm trying to think if they offered some good. Yeah, like I said, my wife, she was trying to help me make sure the theme was reflected in, and I wish I would have taken that advice better. But I'm trying to remember if my coworkers gave any good feedback. I'm sure they did, but I can't remember. Is it
No
that week?
worries.
That week was a blur.
I can only imagine. You mentioned it was like having a second full-time job, and this is one of your earlier game development projects. But I'm curious, like what's next? Do you think you'll work on any other projects, or are you pursuing anything else right now?
So like I would like to keep trying game stuff. I was trying to learn or starting to learn. Is it Godot? Godot? I don't know how you pronounce that.
Yeah,
So,
Godot.
yeah, I was looking into that. I wanted to take Goliath and kind of make a director's cut, if you will, just finish it out. There's a couple of animations I wanted to add a few more levels, use my own music and sound, or maybe not sound effects. I don't know how to make a sound effect, stuff like that. So kind of flesh it out and put it on my website. I was successful in doing that. I was worried that I didn't like, it took me the longest time to learn like what is Replit running to get this to go. I'm like, I don't even know what command it's running when I open up the window each time. It took me a little bit to figure it out. I was like, okay, that's how I do it. So I'll have the original Game Jam version forever living on Replit, but I want to make my own personal version that wasn't made in a week, that had a little more time to breathe. So I will be doing that. I think that's kind of what's on the radar there.
Yeah. Please share whatever your next round of the game is. I'd love to see it, and I'm sure our community would as well.
Yeah, I'll make sure to post it on the Discord when I get around to it. Just like making music is hard and that takes a long time. So I've definitely been putting it off. But
You've got that keyboard right behind you. I see a stringed instrument of some kind over there.
yeah. Well, I don't. We'll see if I use any of those. It'd probably just be all on the computer. But yeah. So
Awesome. Was there anything I didn't ask you about that you'd really love to share? Any reflections on the Game Jam?
I don't think so. Yeah, it was a lot of fun to make a game, but yeah, like I said, it's hard to know like what your personal like boundaries should be for how to compete in it. It's not like, okay, it's like, 1 24-hour stretch and like that's it. It's like,
Mhm.
it's a whole week, and how many hours do you want to put in? It's up to you. And I think different personality types or whatever will kind of take that differently. And I was surprised at how far and like how hard I pushed. I guess I wasn't expecting to work those kind of hours, and I guess I just really like. I mean, yeah, like I said, I enjoyed it, wanted to do well. So
Yeah.
I don't know where I was going with that, but
Well, I used to be a teacher, and video games are always something that they're a really good tool for motivating students. And I think the same kind of thing was happening for you as well. You get the storytelling and the gaming, and that kind of drives you even when it's challenging. But yeah, I'd love to see whatever you make next. This has been such a pleasure, and I really mean it. Goliath is such a gift. It's such an incredible game. Congratulations, and I hope you get to have a restful holiday from both your KaJam job and as well as your uh, official full-time job.
thank you. I appreciate that. I appreciate your time.